Alright, how's it going? I'm going to be showing you guys how to get Project Rio for online Mario Superstar Baseball up and running on the Steam Deck. So you can see here, it's on my Steam homepage. I also have it in my library under non-Steam games, and I have some cool artwork, and I've used Decky Loader to make my home screen look a little bit different, so that's why it looks a little different. But basically, it's something that you can open up from here, and this will open up Project Rio, and from here you can play online games, log into your Project Rio account, and I'll show you how to get this all set up. Just a quick disclaimer, I'm not a Steam Deck expert. I don't know all the ins and outs of everything that I'm doing here, so I'm just showing you the way that I made my way through this. If you run into issues that I didn't come across, feel free to comment, but I just want to let you know that I might not be able to solve them because I was just going off of things that I found on the internet, other tutorials that I found, and speaking of other tutorials, I definitely recommend going to the Project Rio website. I'll show you where it is later when we go there, but there's a setup tutorial there for Windows and Mac if you want to get that set up, and I definitely recommend watching that just to help you get it set up, even if you're just doing it on the Steam Deck. So yeah, we'll go ahead and start there. Okay, so here we are in desktop mode. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to open the Discover store, and if you haven't already, you might have already done this, but if you haven't, you need to go to search, click X to bring up the search, the keyboard, and then type in Proton. You should see the first one be Proton Up Qt. You want to install this, it should say install up here. This allows you to run Windows applications through gaming mode by changing the compatibility settings. So go ahead and install Proton Up Qt, it shouldn't take too long. And then once you do that, the next step is actually just to install Project Rio. So we're going to go to Firefox, and you can just search Project Rio. The first thing when you Google Project Rio is this website, and we're just going to click download Project Rio. If you want to look up the regular setup tutorial, that video is here, but I'll also link it in the description. So we're going to go to this GitHub page, and right here it says Linux compiled from master branch. That's something you could try. That's not what this tutorial is for. I tried looking into it and it looked a little too complicated, so I just went for doing the Windows install and running it through Proton. So we're going to go ahead and download this Windows exe. So if you click on that, you can see it's downloading, and then it should be in our downloads folder. So it's right there. So we can go ahead and close Firefox. The next step is to open Steam here in desktop mode, and we can add this exe as a non-Steam game. So you click add game in the bottom and then click add non-Steam game, and then you click browse right here, and then we go to our downloads and select this Project Rio Windows.exe. So we open that, add selected programs, and then you can see in Steam, it'll be right here. So now we can go back to gaming mode. Alright, so here I am in gaming mode. So what you're going to do is go to your library, go to non-Steam games on the top here, and you'll see this Project Rio Windows exe. So we're gonna, if you try and open it just by itself, it's not gonna launch because it is a Windows. It needs to run on Windows, and we're just trying to run it natively on Linux. So what you're gonna do is you can go to the settings. You can also just press the start button on here and go to properties, or you can click on it and go to the little scroll wheel or the settings cog and then go to properties. And then in the properties, we're going to go to compatibility, and then force the use of a specific Steam Play compatibility tool. I don't know why that word is so hard for me, but this is where Proton gets involved. So I just go to the latest version of Proton, which is going to be right now the Proton 9.0-4. So I select that, and then that should get it working. So now I can launch this, and this should allow us to, use the installer. So you might not have control over your mouse. So if that's the case, just press the Steam button, go to controller settings, and we have to set this up with mouse. So I go to templates and then scroll down to, you can just use like web browser or keyboard and mouse, whatever uses the right trackpad as a mouse. So I just do web browser, and then when you're on the screen, you actually have to press X, and that changes your button layout. And so now I have access to the mouse. Okay, so I'm just gonna click OK, and then I don't change any of these, I just click next. This will bring up the keyboard. I actually don't want to change this file path. I think it's good where it is, so it'll be in C and program files, which I'll show you how to locate that on the Steam Deck in desktop mode after this. But yeah, we're just gonna install it there. And this part might take a couple minutes, but it shouldn't take too long. And that's pretty much it for the installation. We'll just let this complete here. Alright, so now we'll click finish, and now we are good to go back to desktop mode. So we'll do power, switch to desktop. Okay, so now we're back in the desktop mode. And what we're going to do is we're going to locate the install for where we just installed Project Rio, and we're going to add it to Steam. So what we're going to do is we can just open the file manager, and what you're gonna want to see is your home page, which it might not look like this. I have all the hidden files showing, so the way that you do that is click this hamburger menu, and you can click the show hidden files option. So by default they're not showing, and then if you click it, they should be showing. So the other option is you could just type the file path in here that we go to, and that should work as well, because you can type in hidden file paths and get there that way. But yeah, so the file path that we're going to go to is .steam, and then Steam, and then Steam apps, and then compat data. And so this is the file path that we want to navigate to. This is where the Steam Deck stores its like fake C drives, because the C drive is a Windows thing and the Steam Deck runs on Linux, and so when you install something to a C drive, it stores it here. So there may be multiple folders here if you've installed other things before, like I have. It may just be the one, but they're all just like labeled by random numbers, so you don't know which one is your Project Rio install. So the way that you can figure it out is if you sort by created. I think by default it sorts by name, but if you change the sorting to created, then this bottom one is the most recent one that you've created. So if you open up that and then go to PFX, and then you can see drive C, so that's kind of the fake C drive that the Steam Deck creates. And then if you remember, we installed Project Rio 2 program files. You can see Project Rio is right here. And if you open that, then the Project Rio exe should be in there. So I've had an issue a couple of times with my Steam Deck. Once I add this to Steam and opening it up, it just kind of deletes this whole fake C drive. So I think the best solution to this is to take the Project Rio folder and actually move it to a location that would be better. So you can move it to like your documents, and then it should be here, and now you don't have to go back to that super long file path before. So now it's just in my documents, and we're just gonna add this exe to Steam. So let's open up the Steam desktop client here, and just like we did before, we're gonna do add game and add non-Steam game. And then we're just going to locate that exe. So documents, Project Rio folder, projectrio.exe, open, add selected programs, and now it should be added, so we can go back into gaming mode and try running it with Proton. Okay, so back in gaming mode, if you go to your library and then non-Steam games, you should see it'll look like Project Rio.exe for you. You'll also see the Project Rio.windows.exe here, which is the installer. You don't want to use that anymore. If you want, you can just remove that from Steam by clicking the start button, manage, and then remove non-Steam game from your library. But for this one, you're just going to go to the Project Rio exe. You can change the name of this under properties. So I just deleted the exe part and just left it as Project Rio. And then to get the artwork, you just press the start button and you go to change artwork, and you have to have Steam Grid DB downloaded as a plugin for Decky Loader. Yeah. So if you have that, you can change the artwork to whatever you want, and that should work for you. But basically, how we're going to get this set up is we're going to go to properties in the same way we did before, and go to compatibility, and it'll be set to one of these Steam Linux runtimes, and you're just going to change it to the latest version of Proton, just like we did before. And then you should be able to run it. Yeah. So this is what it should look like. Again, you might have to change your controller settings again. So for this one, I started with gamepad with mouse trackpad. So if you go to templates, it's like the third one down. You click on it, press X, and that'll change it. Now I can use the mouse, but also the gamepad will work when I run that. So from here, what you have to do, you can basically follow the original tutorial that I talked about, and I'm linking down below from this point. But you're going to want to go into, I believe, okay, so with the controller settings, you do have to edit this layout a little bit, because the trackpad, if you go to trackpads, the click is not a click. So we're going to change that to a left mouse click, and then that should be saved. So yeah, so now we can open a different menu. So in this config, you're just going to want to check the volume. I think 15% is fine for now. And then in graphics, in the setup tutorial video, he recommends Direct 3D 11 or 12. This hasn't worked for me on Steam Deck. It's caused my game to crash, so I wouldn't recommend using that. I would recommend OpenGL works fine, and Vulkan also works for me, so one of those two. And then advanced, he puts on show FPS and show percent speed, so those are both fine. Oh, and I think also he puts on show net play messages and show net play ping, so those are fine. And then you're going to have to configure this controller. So when you open this menu, it took a little bit for this X input /0/gamepad to show up for me. I don't know what caused it to show up, but before it was just showing the D input /0/keyboard mouse. So if this gamepad isn't showing up for you, maybe try restarting, try refreshing a bunch of times, and hopefully you can figure out a way to get that to show up. But after you get that to show up, you can configure all of your buttons. So you're going to want to configure these buttons, the D-pad, the control stick, the C-stick, and the triggers, which you do just by clicking and then tapping the button. So like clicking and then do up on the control stick, or click and then, oh, it's down here, click and then do the left trigger. So that's how you do that. You can save it as a profile if you want. Just save it, yeah. And then it should be configured. So yeah, feel free to mess with these settings. I'm not exactly sure what the most optimal settings are. So you can mess around with it and do some testing and see what works best for you. But if you try to go into online play, it won't work right away for you. What you're going to have to do is go into Rio config and add player. So the annoying part about this is you might have to type in your Rio key by hand, the thing that you got from your email. If you don't have an account, you create an account and they'll send you a Rio key. And it's a really long key, and you might have to type it in by hand. So the only other option would be to do it in desktop mode, which you would need to attach a separate keyboard for, which you can do. You could also do it here if you, so something you could do is you could just open up another like go to home, open up Discord here, send it to yourself in Discord, and then copy it, and then you should be able to paste it into the Rio key here. If you do, yeah, there's a paste button here. Okay, so you will be able to copy and paste it, so that's nice. And then yeah, you go ahead and select your online account, and then you should be able to do some online play. So this is where you host and join matches. If you just want to test it out, you can just double click the banner here and that'll open up the game. And yeah, that should be everything. One last thing about the game ISO. So your Project Rio won't initially have the game loaded. So to do that, we do have to go into desktop mode. So let's do that. Okay, here we are in desktop mode. So this should be the last thing that we have to do in desktop mode, and what we're going to do is we're going to help Project Rio locate the Mario Superstar Baseball file. So if we open Steam and run Project Rio through here, you won't be able to just run it through like the documents. Oops. So like this Project Rio exe won't run it because it needs to run through Proton, so you do have to open it through Steam, but you can open it through Steam and play and do everything on the desktop. The only annoying part about it is that you can't press X to bring up the keyboard, so if you do want to play on desktop just to like chat or adding your Rio key, you would need to connect an external keyboard. But anyway, so if you double click, it pulls up this, which doesn't look like our Linux file explorer, so we need to figure out where this is. So this is another kind of like fake Windows C drive. So what we have to do is we have to navigate back to that home.steam, Steam apps, compat data, and then there should be a new folder down here at the bottom that was created even later. So again, you want to sort by created. And then at the bottom, so opening, like double clicking here and opening this creates that new fake C drive here. So pfx drive C. And then here, what I like to do is create new folder, and then I'll just name it ROMs. And this is where you're going to put the Mario Superstar Baseball game. So it's like the ISO file basically. So this is mine. Copy it, paste it here, paste one file. And then when I double click here, so I put it in the C drive. So we are going to have to find that. So I just go to my computer and then C. And then I should see the ROMs folder I created. And I'm just going to open that folder. And then Mario Superstar Baseball should load in from there. Let me try one more time. So I think I figured it out. Basically, if your ROM is not showing up here when you select that folder, then you just want to delete the file from the ROMs folder and then copy it there again, and then it should show up. So paste one file, and then you can see that Mario Superstar Baseball comes up because we had that folder selected. So that should work. If you're having more issues with that, let me know. You can also try moving the game into this folder, and then instead of going through the file selection here, you can open up Project Rio in gaming mode and see if that gives you more success. So I'm not sure which one would be better, but that's how you get it in. And then you can go ahead and run the game. You can do online play. I might recommend going to options and hotkey settings and maybe setting a toggle full screen. So I made it my shoulder L. So when I'm in desktop mode, I can press the left bumper and it'll change it to full screen. But also if you're in gaming mode, I noticed that the Vulkan backend sometimes makes the screen really small just because it's not in full screen. So you would just need to set a button to the full screen binding the full screen hotkey in options hotkey settings, and then toggle full screen. Again, you do have to change the device, but yeah, once you have that set up, it should work. Definitely let me know in the comments if you have any other issues. Awesome.